but we got to start with your dogs, Aaron. Again, winners of like their 47th million regular season game in a row, second longest streak of all time. But, you're going to have these days. This was a very tough one. 13-12 final score. UGA escapes.
Yeah, it was not a fun game to watch. Offense was abysmal. I told you before the show, the stat of Carson never trailing as a starting quarterback besides in the SEC championship game against Alabama is just a life of luxury.
It was in the fourth quarter, QB1. Right? He had 17 fourth quarter snaps up until this game in which he was trailing.
Unbelievable.
And he added some on here.
Listen, Georgia's defense did their job. They still have yet to give up a touchdown this year, not football season, this calendar year dating back to the bowl game versus FSU. So, they look good. I thought Jalen Walker was an absolute beast. They were without a few guys up front. It was a bend but don't break kind of thing. Brock Vandegrift played decent. He surprised me. He made some plays with his legs. He made some plays with his arms. The sumo running back, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. I thought he ran really well.
We heard that name 7,000 times.
How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it?
Sumo Carnbay. Sumo Carnbay.
He looked pretty damn good. He ran hard. Yeah, he was a freaking dog. 107 yards rushing for Kentucky. That was impressive. That offensive line was terrible a week ago. I know South Carolina's good up front, but they were atrocious. And Georgia's defense line, even without some of the stars, is still an elite defensive line. And it looked like Kentucky's O-line kind of dominated the line of scrimmage for the majority of the game. So good by them on that.
I want to get into the Mark Stoops punt because that is absolutely, to me, the most shameful part of the night. But to credit Kentucky, that's the wildest part about this game is that none of it looked very fluky. Like you said, Kentucky was consistently having success running the ball. They were consistently stopping the run. Carson Beck looked very uncomfortable all night long. Mm-hmm. At one point, Kentucky was 9 of 13 on third down.
Georgia was shit. Georgia was awful on third down.
Yeah. So that's it. That's pretty, okay, right here. Jordy, I think, is speaking to Bulldog fans and securities right now. He says, how will that offense keep up with Tennessee? I mean, that is the question. That's the thing about tonight. You get the win, but for Georgia, and I think the Georgia narrative and Georgia fans, the questions you're going to be asking are, is this offense good enough in the biggest games? Can you keep up with Tennessee? If we run into Ole Miss, I don't think they're on the schedule, but if we run into them at some time, can you keep up with them?
They're on the road. They're on the road against Alabama. They're on the road against Ole Miss. They're on the road against Texas, and then they have Tennessee at home. You are going to face four of the best offenses in the country. Is the defense going to be able to prevent touchdowns and have the performance they've had to start the season against Clemson last week and against Kentucky in all four of those games? If your offense is going to look like this, but let's also think about this: Georgia's offense didn't look like this. They did for the first half versus Clemson. Second half was pretty good. Last week was good. This is not great. So I will say the majority of Georgia's offense has actually not been great this season. It really hasn't. I mean, you now have a game and a half going back the first half of Clemson to tonight of not really good football on this side where we were Georgia fans expecting elite offensive line play. Tate Ratledge went down, so I didn't help.
Tate Ratledge going down is a potential massive loss going forward. You had
ETN playing in this game, and he looked good, but still only 102 yards rushing for Georgia. Carson Beck did not play great. Receivers were okay.
Lack of weapons.
Didn't look
Are
great.
you willing to say it? Lack of weapons.
I don't think there's a lack of weapons. I do not think this is a lack of weapons issue for Georgia on the outside because I do like Dom. I like Dylan Bell. Colby Young has been really good to start the season. I think Aaron Smith has had some moments. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the weapons' fault on the outside as why Georgia's not producing the way they were expecting to be producing. I think this was Georgia lost the line of scrimmage to Kentucky on both sides tonight.
That's true. But it didn't feel like Georgia's receivers were getting a lot of separation, though. Anyway.
Carson also missed some big throws. That post route to Dylan Bell was wide open. He missed that one. A couple other ones he was off. Carson had a bad night.
Yeah,
Carson
he had that bad fumble. He had that bad fumble at the end that Etienne hopped on for him. Yep. Mm-hmm. Jeff Solfido Super Chat. UGA did such a good job gaslighting others. They convinced their own players to believing Kentucky was a real challenge. Yes, they gaslit a little too hard. They tried to talk up Kentucky so badly so that their team would be locked in that the team actually started to believe that Kentucky was actually really badass, coming off of getting worked at home by South Carolina 31-6. So wait, is LSU
Kirby
better than Georgia? When you
is
think about it?
LSU better than Georgia?
Yeah, because South Carolina fucking smoked Kentucky. LSU beats South Carolina.
It makes sense.
And Georgia barely beat Kentucky. Law Transfer Sports Property says, there's a case to be made.
There's a case to be made. There's a case to be made. They did not look like the number one team in the nation tonight. They didn't look like a team that could beat Texas. They didn't look like a team that could maybe even beat Alabama. So this is a, hey, you got a bye week right now. Go look yourself in the mirror heading into the next 2 weeks before you go to Tuscaloosa, and you better figure some stuff out on that side of the football because it is very basic. It is very plain. It's not very explosive.
Yeah.
And offensive line is not up to the caliber that they were supposed to be.
I would say this, I think you really have to be careful being too reactive. I do feel that you now have a game and a half. If you want to look at the first half of Clemson,
game and a half.
It is a game and a half. So it's not a nothing sample size. But with a coach the caliber of Kirby Smart, you have given him the perfect ammo. Because you have given him an ugly win. So you avoid the disaster of losing, but it's basically a loss. In Kirby Smart's mind, this is a loss. And it is a loss that he will use to hammer his players with, motivate his players with, and drill into his players' head the rest of the season. You think you're gonna go win, like you said, you think you're gonna win at Ole Miss, you think you're gonna win at Georgia, you think you're gonna win at Texas?
There's not one person hugging or celebrating in that locker room right now. One person.
Bad feeling locker room. I hated these nights. It's a weird feeling. You escape with a win, but like that's a thing. It made UGA look way more fallible, but you are going to have these games at the same time. I'm surprised that it came, like we saw it against Mizzou the last couple of years, and now we know that makes sense. Maybe 2 years ago was ahead of schedule, but like that's a Mizzou team that was on the rise, right? I see no rise for Kentucky on the horizon. This is just one of those days, man. You had a team that you play a lot. It's lost you like 14 times in a row, and math dictates like eventually they got to try to snag one. They're playing at home. It was night. The crowd was popping, and the kicker made 2 plus 50-yard plus field goals. Like it was one of those perfect combination nights where Georgia could potentially get tripped up. Credit to them, they didn't. Again, I would say don't panic. If I'm a Georgia fan, like I don't think this is going to be the rule going forward. But okay, fuck this. We got to talk about Mark Stoops in that punt.
Okay,
because
it's a great decision.
Okay, I want you to explain the context of when he punted, and I want you to tell our listening audience why it was a great decision.
You are in that situation.
Explain what the situation was.
It was a 4th and 8. I'm getting into it. Thank you very much. It is a 4th and 8 situation. Georgia's defensive line at that time.
I'm not asking for justification. I'm asking first for the setting.
I gave you the setting. It was 4th and 8 with about 3 minutes to go in the game.
Yes.
Your O-line
down one. You're down one.
Your O-line had not been blocking Georgia and pass pro, and you have a quarterback who is not a great thrower, who is not having a good second half throwing the football. But what you do have, you have a good defense. You have a good defense. A good defense. It is better odds that Kentucky was going to get a 3-and-out and get good field position than Kentucky getting a first down on 4th and 8, the way Brock was playing, the way that offense line was protecting. I agree with them punting the football. Defense had played well. They got to go get a stop.
Guys, when people talk about gaslighting, and maybe you've never been gaslit before, guys, what Aaron just tried to do is the textbook definition of gaslighting. He tried to take what was objectively the most cowardly, god-awful, chicken shit decision I've ever seen and justify it with the Kentucky defense would probably get a 3-and-out against Georgia. And Carson Beck, the number 1 pick in the draft, one of the Heisman favorites.
They've done it all night. They've done it all night.
They've
done it all night.
Okay. I let you explain it. Here's the fucking deal, guys. Kentucky's down 1. There's 3 minutes left. You're in your home stadium. You're driving. You have the initiative. Have you struggled to throw it? Absolutely. It's 4th and fucking 8. You decide to punt it and gain 30 yards. 25 yards of field position. With 3.5 minutes, you're playing field position when you've had a kicker that has made 2 50-yard field goals on the night. Aaron, what are you talking about? You're not going to piss on me and tell me it's raining? Shut the fuck up.
No,
that's an
everyone in the chat agrees too. You're wrong.
Because you're all Georgia fans. If you turn the ball over there, Aaron, if you get a turnover on downs, it's the exact same situation. Nothing changes. Either way,
you get a fresh set of downs.
Either way, 2 first downs ends the game. Why would you give the initiative back to the opponent? Why wouldn't you make them take it? Make them prove to stop you. The fact that you are sitting here.
If it was Carson Beck who had the football, then I'm going for it. I have a quarterback who has not proven to me that he can complete a forward pass in that type of situation. So no, I'm not giving him the football.
It blows my mind because you're being sincere here. This is not a bit, guys.
I am 100% sincere.
This is not a put on.
This is legit.
Maybe this is like, is this what it takes to make it in the broadcast game? You just got to fucking carry the water for the coaches so much that you get to like, what the fuck are we talking about? That was the most god-awful decision I've ever seen in my life. Why did you give the ball back to Georgia and Carson Beck willingly when you were driving? Make one play and your kicker's already made 250-plus yarders and you can run down the clock all the way.
And you get a 3 and out. You get a 3 and out. You're probably going to be a first down away from being back in the field goal range with a fresh set of downs.
Guys, they ended up at field goal range anyway, Aaron. There was no difference. There was one situation where it kind of worked out because you play fields. Okay, let's say you get a 3 and out. They punt it, and then you have the ball 20 yards behind where you were just at. And you still got to drive.
You have a fresh set of downs.
And if you get the 4th and 8, you have a fresh set of downs. Did you think about that?
If you don't get the 4th and 8, then all of a sudden, even if Georgia goes 3 and out, you're going to be punted inside your own 20. The game's over. Game's over.
Aaron, if you don't get the 4th and 8, they get the ball at the 40 as opposed to the 15. What the fuck are we talking about? Please don't do this.
Big difference.
I can't. It's been a long day. It's been a fun long day.
Big difference.
Oh my God. No, it's Aaron.
Big difference.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I can't. I mean,
I think I'm going to call for the Kentucky game next weekend. So
exactly.
I'm going to be nuts.
Exactly. You're gonna say, "Hey, Mark, come here. Just look. Hey, man, you're gonna get on your knees. You're gonna say, "Hey, Mark, come here, man. I thought you made the right. Yeah, I thought you made the right call. Get the fuck out of here."
I'll let you know what he says in the meeting.
When's the next time that Mark Stoops is going to have the number 1 team in the country on the ropes with the ball in their territory, down 1, 3 minutes left? What are we talking about? Do you want to win or do you want to not lose? It's such a cowardly decision. It's so objectively bad.
To each their own. I will not budge. You will not say anything to me right now that will budge me off that I thought that was a good decision. I'll not do anything to budge you. You've made your point. I get it, but I disagree.
I know. But you're too smart for this. Okay. Anyway, I think the bottom line is Kentucky misses a massive opportunity. They do what Kentucky does. This could have been Mark Stoops' 3rd win over a team that finished with a winning record in the SEC. No more. And I think thank you, Zach. I agree. This is validation of all my Stoops takes, like 1,000%. But anyway, but I'm not panicking if I'm Georgia. You have these days. You use it to get better. Kirby will use this to get better. Georgia will be locked in. I still now you do emerge looking far more fallible, and I'm way less confident in Georgia moving forward.
Yes.
But you're still going to look better than you look today, I guess would be my overall point. Mr. Hooks, y'all are talkers, not coaches. Mr. Hooks, you know what? Never mind, dude. You and Aaron garble each other's balls because y'all are so full of shit. I can smell it through the fucking StreamYard.